and participants. I want to use this opportunity to welcome you all to our fourth virtual leadership seminar. This seminar is being organized by Youth Impact Parliament. I want to now proceed to our opening prayer. Let us pray. Almighty God, we humbly beseech Thee to look with favor upon this Youth Impact Parliament. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in Thy sight. Give guidance, clarity, insight, and eloquence to our guest speaker, host, that they may deliver and make this virtual leadership seminar a memorable and resourceful one for our personal development and capacity building. We commit into your hands all participants that they may understand and adopt all that will be taught today. Bless the efforts of all those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Youth Impact Parliament, Volta region, and Ghana. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, I can see online, I can see our co-founder, Honorable Mr. Raymond Elikemagbo. For the records, there is only one honorable in our midst. The others are not exactly, we have not fully attained that status. Let me put that on record. The only honorable in our midst is our guest speaker. So we have Mr. Raymond Elikemagbo, is one of our co-founders. And then Mr. Amano David Na, he is also one of our co-founders. And he is also the majority leader of Youth Impact Parliament. We have Ornice Adams, who is also online. He is our Deputy Clerk Finance. And I can see Amenu Veve Sodo Finance. Welcome online. I can see Benedita Jeke. I can also see Cecil Akato. I can also see Cletus Awiline. I can see Desmond Sylvester Ahaji. I can see Gape Agesta. And I can see Wosoye James. I want to use this opportunity to welcome you all who are currently online to witness this program live and colored. And we hope that you enjoy and learn from whatever our guest speaker will deliver on this platform. We'll now move to the welcome address. Honorable guest speaker, honorable members, or ladies and gentlemen, fellow participants, it is an honor for me to host this memorable event once again as your speaker of Youth Impact Parliament. This youth organization is focused on impacting its members positively and significantly. This occasion assiduously promotes the vision of this youth parliament. The topic for today's seminar is personal experience and political career of Honorable Peter Nortsu-Kotoe. And this topic will be handled by no other person than the Honorable himself, our guest speaker, Honorable Peter Kwasi Nortsu-Kotoe. He is a member of the 8th National Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana, representing the good people of Akatsi Constituency of Ghana. I hereby wish, and on behalf of leadership of this entire Youth Impact Parliament, welcome you all to this program. And I want to use this opportunity to also welcome, most especially our guest speaker, the good people of Akatsi Constituency in the Volta region of Ghana on the ticket of the National Democratic Congress. Honorable Peter Nortsu-Kotoe was born on the 6th of May in 1956. He hails from Taduhui in Volta region of Ghana. He had Honorable Peter Nortsu-Kotoe Honorable Peter Nortsu is actually Nortsu-Kotoe, is a graduate of the University of Ghana with a bachelor degree in English. He holds a Master's of Development Management from the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration. Honorable Peter Nortsu-Kotoe is an educationist by profession. He was a tutor at Accra Academy, Bush-Bashi, Accra, and the Assistant Director of Ghana Education Service. Politics. Honorable Peter Nortsu-Kotoe was the District Chief Executive of the Akatsi District and the Akatsi South District from April 2029 until he entered Parliament on the 7th of January 2013. He was elected to represent the Akatsi North constituency on the ticket of the National Democratic Congress during the 2012 general elections. In 2016 and 2022, he was re-elected again to represent his constituency for 4 years respectively in the Parliament of our Republic. He is currently in his third term as a member of Ghana's 8th Parliament, under the leadership of Right Honorable Alban Smana Kingsford, who is the Speaker of the 8th Parliament, and Honorable Haruna Idrisu, who is the minority leader of the 8th Parliament, representing the people of Tamale South Constituency of Ghana. Honorable Peter Nortsu-Kotoe is also the ranking member on the Committee of Education in the 8th Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Peter Nortsu-Kotoe is married with 3 children. He is identified as a Christian and is a member of the Evangelical Presbyterian Church, Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, I humbly introduce to you Honorable Peter Nortsu-Kotoe. Honorable Peter Nortsu-Kotoe, your audience, ladies and gentlemen, I now respectfully invite our guest speaker to take the floor as he presents to us on our topic. Honorable, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm very glad that you have offered me this platform this evening to interact with the youth. Actually, it is said, and I think it is true, that the future of this country is in the hands of the youth. And whatever we can do to educate the youth so that they can prepare themselves very adequately to take over from the generation that we find ourselves in the years to come. I think we have it as an obligation to make sure that we do that. We can do that through counseling. We can do that through sharing experiences with you, which we are about to do today. So I am glad that as a group you have taken this interest in affairs of Parliament and the individuals who serve in Parliament on behalf of the nation. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity, and then also to encourage you that you are doing well, and make sure that the light that you have lit will continue to glow, because you are sharing information to a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't have had the opportunity to know some of us. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable.
Yeah. You have already spoken about my biography, and I don't think I need to add more. But I want to state. Can you hear me?
To add more. Yes, you have to add more, Honorable. That was just very brief.
Okay. I believe that I have had an interesting life. As a young boy born in a small village of Peruwe, my parents were both illiterate, so they did not know much about education. So as a village boy, I was fortunate that the YIP church was brought to my village, and my father was the one who was consulted, and then they gave land, and then that same year they opened a school. So I was born 4 years after the church was brought to the village. So I had advantage over others, and I was able to go to school at the age of 5. So when we finished primary school, there was no middle school in those days in the village. So we had to walk for 4 years to Avarakpa to have our middle school education. Then after that, in those days, after middle school, your parents thought they had done so much for you that you have to look for work and do and other things. I had a desire to go to secondary school, but my father was not interested. He wanted me to be a teacher. Why he wanted me not to go to secondary school, it was later on that he told me, years later, that his younger brother told him that if he allowed me to go to school, I would become a very stubborn boy. So I didn't have secondary education. So I went to the training college. I completed Accra Training College in those days, 1978. But can I tell you that by the time I completed training college, which is now College of Education, I had gotten my O-level, and then had a quick promotion, finished my A-levels, and then at that time, this, if you have ever heard of the exodus of teachers to Nigeria, so I was part of them. I spent some 5 years in Nigeria before coming back to Ghana. And when I returned to Ghana in 1987, I rejoined the Ghana Education Service, and then after some 3 years, I went to the University of Education, Winneba, which was then Advanced Teachers College. So I did my diploma in English. Then after that, I continued to University of Ghana, where I did I read linguistics with English. In fact, the university wanted me to remain there, but that was not what I wanted to do. My interest was in politics. So before then, in 1988, I was elected an assembly member for the Akatsi District Assembly. I spent 9 years in the assembly. Then I stopped. Then in 2000, President Rawlings appointed me as a district chief executive. In 2000, that time I was just about 34 years or so, or 44 years, 44 years. So I took office as a DC in September 2000, but NDC lost the election in that 2000. So I went back to the Ghana Education Service. Then it was then that I went back to do my program at GIMPA, Development Management. Then in 2009, President Mills appointed me as a DC for Akatsi District Assembly. So my politics started when I became an assembly member for Postmon electoral area, and later on Jalele electoral area. So I've got that experience in the local government affairs, and that was what urged me to go and read development management as part of my master's degree program. Yeah, so that is how I started political life as an assemblyman, because I realized that if you want to be a development agent, you need to work closely with the people. And I think those days we did not even have what we call the common fund, this assembly's common fund. But the assembly itself was able to generate funds, which we used to do a number of projects in the districts. And I enjoyed those days very well, because we were ready to serve in those days as assembly members. Although those were days, the beginning of the assembly system in the country. If you remember the days of President Rawlings, when Honorable Professor Kwamina Ahoy was the Minister for Local Government at the time. he took us through a lot of these decentralization programs, and it was very, very interesting. I learned a lot of things, especially with how to manage assemblies and how to make sure that you work for the people. So I had the opportunity to serve on a number of committees when I was an assembly member. For the 9 years, I was on the executive committee of the assembly. Then later on, I became the chairman of the executive committee when I was DCE for 2 terms. So I was lucky, I should say. I served under President Rawlings for a short while. I served under President Mills before he passed on. Then I also served with President Mahama for a few months. That's about 5 months before I entered Parliament. So I have had the opportunity to serve under 3 different presidents of the country under NDC. Yeah, so I can say that my involvement in politics as the grassroots, that was what propelled me to where I am today. So that's why I've been advising the youth that you must start from somewhere. Don't try to start from the top, because you must build the base. And if you build the base, you can strongly catapult yourself to higher heights. So I served with people like the former speaker, Right Honorable Duajaho. I was one of his branch executive chairman. I was a branch chairman of the NDC. Then I rose from there to become the constituency organizer. So you must begin from somewhere. Don't try to jump the queue. It is not so. If you program yourself very well and you work assiduously, before you realize, you occupy a position that probably you had not even thought of. Because honestly, if anybody told me some years ago that I would become a member of Parliament, I would have doubted it. But how I worked with people in authority, how I worked with the party, how I worked with chiefs and anybody that mattered in politics, I am sure that's what brought me this far. So for the youth, you need to watch critically. You must count your steps very well so that before you realize, you will not suffer. People will just recommend you that, no, this young man, let us give him the opportunity to prove himself, and you will be happy that you did. So that is how I started my politics as an assemblyman in 1988 up to around 1995 when I stopped. 5 years later, I became DCE, left office, came back after 8 years, and I am continuing as a member of Parliament now. So it is important that we learn from others how they have made it, and I'm happy of the opportunity to do that. I will urge you to develop much interest in politics and see what you can do. Think of politics as a way of helping people and not helping yourself. Because if you have that knowledge of using politics to help yourself first before others, you may not go far. So it is important that if you enter politics, if you want to be a politician, be a servant to the people, and then they will recognize you and they will make sure that they support you to go far. Yeah, if I come to Parliament now, I can say that I entered Parliament on the 7th of January 2013 as a member for Akatsi North. Let me also state that before 2013, there was nothing like Akatsi North Constituency. It was when I was the DCE of Akatsi as a whole that when President Mills was creating a number of districts, we also fought with the leadership of Right Honorable Duajaho and others. We fought together, and then we were able to get the district for Akatsi North. So we split the district into 2. By law or the constitution of the country, no MP can supervise 2 districts, political districts. So a constituency had to be created for Akatsi North district. And that's how it came about that we had a Akatsi North constituency. So there was a need for somebody to represent the people. That's why I was saying that if anybody told me some years before this time that I was going to be a member of parliament for Akatsi North, I wouldn't have accepted it, or something like that. So that is the situation. So Akatsi North constituency was created in 2012, and then there was this opportunity to contest for election. So I put up myself with the support of my chiefs, and then won the primaries on the ticket of NDC, and I was elected as a member of parliament. On reaching parliament, I realized that the work was not as easy as we were seeing it outside. It was, or it is still, a daunting task to be a member of parliament. The notion that when you enter parliament, you have a lot of opportunities, it is not very true, but there are opportunities anyway, because you are more exposed to the society. You meet different kinds of people from different walks of life, and then you interact with different people, and you try to know more about people than what you used to know. And I can say that I have learned a lot meeting people in parliament. In parliament, we know we have different committees, and we work by committees in parliament. Much of the work that we do is in parliament. Is in committee rather. For the plenary, which is the general house, that is where we receive reports from committees, and then we vote on them, debate on them. So every bill that is proposed must go to a committee, a relevant committee, so that they will discuss it, do the necessary amendments, propose the necessary changes, and then that will be brought back to the plenary. Then discussions or debates are allowed. And when the debate is allowed, there's a need to vote on a particular amendment, we do so. So the work of parliament is largely in committees. Now, I was put on 2 committees, and I've remained on those 2 committees ever since. Maybe I can talk about the 2 of them. The first one is the Education Committee. When I came to Parliament in 2013, I don't know by what calculation anyway, I was made the Vice Chairman of the Education Committee as a first-term member of Parliament. It is not very easy for you to enter Parliament for the first time and only to be given an appointment as a chairman or a vice chairman. But I was given that opportunity. So I helped the chairman in carrying out his work. Now, committees have oversight responsibilities over the ministries. So like education, we have oversight responsibility for education in general in the country. If we talk about budgetary allocations, the ministry's budget will have to come to Parliament every year for approval. So also is other sectors. So the committee will have to deliberate on the resources that are going to be made available to the Ministry of Education. We'll have to scrutinize the budget and make sure that every person was accounted for, especially what was given to them the previous year. They will have to account for it before we approve the budget for the next year. So we have that as a vice chairman of the committee. I have that privilege to make sure that the right thing was done by the various ministers. We also have oversight responsibility over institutions like the universities and other agencies, the National Service Secretariat, West African Examinations Council, and many other bodies that are under the Ministry of Education. So we have control over them. We approve their budgets or recommend to the House to approve their budgets for them. And that is what we do them as a, we also deal with bills as a committee. If you remember, there was the establishment of some universities by government. Yeah, we went to the bill and then recommended to the House to approve or pass the bill to establish those universities. You can talk about the university we have in Somania in the eastern region. You can talk about the current ones those that were part of UDS that we split into various campuses. And then Winneba recently, the one at Kumasi and Mampong, we made them autonomous universities. So we have that responsibility to do so. And any other bill regarding education in the country. Yeah, so that is with education. Now, I also served on the subsidiary legislation. It is a committee that deals with, when we say subsidiary laws, laws that fall under the major law. So if you have an act of parliament, you can do what we call subsidiary legislation. You bring a legislative instrument that is by the sector ministries on a particular act that they want to operationalize the law. So it is that committee that will look at that law and recommend to the Speaker and the House that for reason A, B, C, we should approve the legislative instrument, which we call LI. So when that is done, Parliament approves it, and then it becomes law. It must be in the House for 21 sitting days. And when it is done, nobody can change anything. So I belong to that committee. It has given me an insight so much. Although I'm not a lawyer, but I'm on the committee and have learned a lot about legislation through that committee. So it is very important that when you come to Parliament, you serve on a minimum of 2 committees. But these are 2 major committees in Parliament, education and the subsidiary legislation. So I have remained on these 2 committees since 2013, and I've enjoyed working on them. I've gained a lot of experiences on these 2 committees. So currently, I'm the ranking member on the Committee on Education. I moved from vice chairman when NDC was in office, and once we joined or we became opposition or a minority, the title changed, and then I became the ranking member when my vice did not return to Parliament, retired voluntarily. So that's how I became the ranking member. And as a ranking member, you have to work hand in hand with the chairman of the committee so that you draw programs of activities for the committee to follow. And that's what we do. Many a time we disagree at the committee level. But when you come to the chamber, whatever is the final outcome, that is what you have to follow. But you are allowed to express your reservations, if you have any, on a particular issue when the report is presented, because it is not everybody who will agree with the position of government. So you must state as an opposition your point of view, and that must be expressed on the floor of the House. And if the House thinks that what you have said is good, they can take your position or reject it. Yeah, so basically that is what of various committees. I don't know if I have enough time. I can continue or anything.
Oh, please, you have enough time. You can continue to speak on it.
Okay. That we are agents of development. When I say agents of development, we approve the budget for the various ministries, departments, and agencies. So we fight for every constituency. For instance, we have something we call statutory funds, like Ghana Education Trust Fund. We have the National Health Insurance Fund. We have the District Assembly's Common Fund. So it is the responsibility of Parliament to do the allocation or make allocations to the various funds or road fund or whichever fund is to come before Parliament. So we make sure that these funds are brought to Parliament, and then we scrutinize their activities and make recommendations that, okay, you want to put up structures in such and so place like education. You will give us the outline of what you want to use the get fund money for. Then the committee will look at it and recommend to the House that you should be given that amount of money. As I'm talking now, I've just finished drafting a private member's motion on get fund, because I have discovered that get fund is not being given enough money. So they are owing a lot of contractors and consultants. The money has been capped by the earmark funds capping and realignment act of 2017. So if we allow this to continue, it is going to affect the development of education in the country, especially with infrastructure. If you go to our universities, you go to our senior high schools, you go to our colleges of education, even at the basic schools, you see that we have what we call the infrastructure deficit. Heavily, in fact, I don't know how to describe it, underfunding of projects and the get fund. So I have drafted a private members motion. I was called this afternoon to do some adjustment in the motion, which I have done, going to take to my leadership to look at again. So as a ranking member, you have that role to play on behalf of government or opposition so that the right thing is done. So as agents of development, yes, we approve funds for development. These funds go to the district assemblies, and then it is now left for other agencies to monitor how they use those funds and report back to Parliament. And that is what we have been doing. Yeah, so we have some funds that are made available to us as members of Parliament, though small. Yeah, we are just to support programs and activities of communities. Like we have this Assembly's Common Fund, which is given to members of Parliament. It's a total of 10% of whatever they send to the Assembly that is given to you. And many of us use that to pay school fees, and so that you can support parents who are unable to pay the fees of their children or their children in the secondary schools and universities. Right now, we only concentrate on those at the tertiary institutions so that we can give them that support to have a tertiary education. Then you have your get fund allocation, which is very small. That one is once a year, unlike common fund, which is quarterly. But unfortunately, it is not coming regularly. But for get fund, every year, because it is only once a year, they'll give it to you. They send it to the district education office. However you want to use it, you are allowed to do so. And that is what we use to also to support students in tertiary institutions, then support some community school projects also from it. Then the health insurance fund, this is the third one that is given. It's also once a year. Some of us, I have used mine to support the construction of some cheap compounds. So the little that we can do as members of Parliament, we do it to supplement what the Assembly is doing and what the central government is also doing. Yeah, so basically, that is what we do as members of Parliament, and I'm happy I'm sharing this information with you. I may not be able to say all, but if there are any questions, I think that will help me to explain more than I have done so far.
Thank you so much, our honorable guest speaker. I have learned a whole lot, and you have given me a lot of insight on how close the future is, and I'm so much grateful. I also have a lot of questions, but first of all, if our participants have questions, kindly indicate it in the chat box, and I'll call you. So in the interim, whilst we wait for you to indicate your questions, I'll go ahead and ask some few questions that I when you indicate your question, I'll give you the opportunity to ask. So for now, I'll proceed with, I think our Honorable has lost his network, and immediately he joins, I'll proceed to ask my question. So please, if you have any question, kindly indicate it in the chat box, in call message. Just indicate, I have a question, type, I have a question, so that I can know how to call any of you. Okay, Honorable has joined. So I'll be waiting to see all those who have questions. So since our Honorable, okay, yes, exactly. Kindly follow Mr. Raymond Agbo and indicate it over there, then I'll call you. Okay, so I'll proceed to ask my first question before we take the other question. Our Honorable guest speaker, since you have served in the assembly for about 9 years, you know a lot that happens over there. Some of us do not really know what exactly happens at the assembly level. And I and my people wish to know how exactly assemblies in Ghana, of which I think we can also call them local governments, are run, who does what, how they are composed, how did they do their things, how they do development, and then all those. If you can speak more on that to enlighten us, I really like it. Thank you. Yes, Honorable, I think you have to unmute yourself, please. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Are you okay now? Yeah. This assembly's concept was evolved in around 1987. And the first election was done in 1988. Now, the assembly is composed of assembly members, and that is a local lawmaking body. They are part of the decentralization program. So when you enter the assembly, there is a structure. We have the district chief executive, who is the chairman of the executive committee of the assembly. We have the presiding member, who is elected by 2/3 majority of members of the assembly, who presides over meetings, just like we have the right honorable speaker in the parliament. So over there too, we have a presiding member who also presides. He has all the orders. They also have their standing orders in which they operate. Now, the role of the assembly is to make sure that they raise revenue for the assembly, they manage the revenue of the assembly, and make sure that there's even distribution of development programs and projects throughout the district. Now, if you enter the assembly, just as we have in parliament, we have different committees that you have to serve on. We have the executive committee, which is made up of the chairman or the conveners of the various subcommittees. We have the social services committee. We have social services is made up of health and education. You have the economic development subcommittee. You have the finance committee. You have the works committee. So about 5 or 6 committees at the assembly. So they all work under the executive committee. Now, at the assembly, the DC is the administrative head. So he represents the president of the republic. So he must work in tandem with the vision of the president. So that's why at times you see some DCs having problems with their assembly members and their coordinating directors. Yeah, but the point is that as a DC, you are to carry out the mandate of the district assembly or government. So they also operate a budget as we have by government and approved by parliament. So the assembly is also responsible for the approval of the budget of the assembly so that they can operate within it. That is what happens with this assembly. So you must stand to be elected on your own merit. Although we have government appointees, which are 30% of the total number of this assembly who are appointed by the president. The rest are elected. So if there are 12 members of the assembly who are elected, then about 6 of them will be government appointees, and of whom the DC will be 1. So the government makes it that, or the law makes that the DCE is a member of the assembly, and at the same time, the president's nominee or president's representative in the political rep in the district. So their operation is only that the difference is that they must generate their own revenue and then pay their own allowances. And what also happens is that where the assembly is not able to raise revenue, they find it very difficult to pay enough allowances to their members of the assembly. That is the biggest challenge some of them or the assemblies are having. And I think with time, some are beginning to overcome that challenge and able to pay allowances regularly to their members.
So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, our guest speaker. We'll move to the next question. We laid some ground rules on asking questions, and Eskin Nuku, your question has been overruled. Kindly prepare for a different question, but that question will not be answered. Miss Manam Asase, kindly unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you. Yes, Manam Asase, please, if you are active, unmute yourself. But if you are not active, I'll proceed to ask my next question. So if you have, dear participants, if you have a question, kindly indicate it in the in-call message and then I'll call you. If Manam is active, she can ask, but if she's not active, I'll proceed to ask my next question whilst she prepares. Our honorable guest speaker, you mentioned that with the assistance of the chiefs, you are able to get to parliament. Some of us do not really know the true relevance of chiefs in our society. When we learned government in SHS, we were told that leadership and, should I say, the control and management of the Gold Coast was actually in the hands of chiefs. But it appears with the introduction of democracy, the power and the relevance of chiefs have been reduced. If you can speak more on the relevance of chiefs and then how their work is very important even within the democratic system, I'll be really glad. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Yeah, the fact is that, as you said, the role of chiefs in pre-colonial administration of this country was very, very enormous. But for them, probably our independence couldn't have been early as we had it. So they played a very, very useful role. But with the advent of politics after independence, their role began to diminish because taking part in active politics was beginning to have a slur on their status. I remember very well that in 1979, my area was part of Ho East Constituency, and the chief was the member of parliament. 1979, the Ho East member of parliament was a chief, Togui Zoka from Adakulu. He was our member of parliament. But the current constitution debars chiefs from active politics. So if you want to be a politician or you want to enter parliament, you have to resign as a chief, or you abdicate your throne, and then you become a member of parliament. Yeah, some for very good reasons, because before independence those days, the political tension as we have it now was not there. They saw each other as one. But this time, it is not so. So the chiefs, for now, are still relevant because you have the National House of Chiefs, and they play a very major role in our political dispensation. Yeah, if I limit it to my constituency, I said earlier that it was with the consultation, the support of the chiefs that we were able to get the district assembly. So if they were not working with us, I doubted how we would be able to get the district and the constituency. So they still play a major role. They do it at the background. And I think we still have to commend them for the role they are playing because of the political tension that we have in the country now. The way the politics is polarized, it will be unwise for them to be identifying themselves with political parties. So they have to play a neutral role. Whichever government comes to power, they must support it and make sure that they get the first share of the national cake for their communities and traditional areas. So they are the custodians of the land, and you cannot do anything without going to them. So if you wanted, or when you wanted to get a district, we had to sell the idea to them. They bought into the idea, and then they supported us, gave us the necessary advice that was needed, where they had to go and talk on behalf of the people. They did so. So they are still relevant, except that they cannot wear any political party dress or cap and then stand on any platform to campaign for any political party. So they are very, very relevant. They are still relevant, very useful in our political dispensation. So they are relevant as before and now, as far as I can say.
Thank you so much for this clarity and insight. I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Raymond Elikemagbo, please, you have a question, so kindly unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I also want to use the opportunity to thank Honorable Peter Nortsu-Kotoe for a very brilliant delivery. I think that the personal experience, life experience, has really proven his in-depth, his in-depth knowledge with education and then local governance system in the country. It is not surprising when he's speaking on social media, on our radios. He gives so much education. Thank you so much for the delivery this evening. Now, on to my question. Honorable, please, today or in our dispensation now, looking at your experience, where you started from the grassroots and to the very position that you are now, when we find where we find ourselves now, we realize that a lot of youths or a lot of the growing youth are seen not to be given the opportunity. In other sense, it is like they have become like they are always almost perceived as competitors to their leaders or whoever that is ahead of them in their constituencies, in their branch, and in other positions that they may even want to go for. Knowing you as a member of parliament who is very accommodative and who is bringing a lot of youth in the Akatsi North constituency, what would be your advice to a lot of the youths that have the interest in politics, that really want to serve, but are seen as political opponents or are seen as people who are coming to depose their MPs and other people with respective positions in their constituencies? Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. And I want to thank Mr. Elikemagbo for that insightful observation and question. Yes, in my delivery, I mentioned that I started my political career as a member of the district assembly. I believed that I had to start from somewhere. Then I also said that I was a branch chairman of NDC in my village. Then from there, I went to the constituency level, where I served as the constituency organizer for the party, organizing everybody in the constituency. Then from there, I became the DC. So you see the progression. The advice I gave at the beginning was that as the youth, you must be ready to learn and learn very fast. Try to serve at any level that is given to you or that you feel you can serve. If you want to overstep certain barriers, you may not be able to succeed. I said that I worked closely with Right Honorable Joe Ajaho when he was a member of Parliament. I learned a lot from him, and that knowledge I gained from him was what prepared me for my future career as a member of Parliament. So what I'm trying to say is that I would disagree with anybody who sees any competitor as an enemy. If you are in politics and you don't like competition, then you better not enter politics at all, because after the competition, you can't avoid it. Even before I became DC in 2000, during President Rawlings' time, when my name came up, there were some others who also contested to become DCs. 2009, the same thing. When I was going to Parliament for the first time in 2012 election, the same thing happened. So you must be ready to accept competition at any point in time. Even in Parliament here, even putting people on committees, there is competition. They will put your names down. The leadership will say, Mr. A can do better than Mr. B, or Mr. C is the best among these three. So let's give him. So that is all competition. So what I will advise is that as a young man, enter into politics and then gain experience. See which level you can serve, and that will give you a leap over others. I started as a branch chairman. I could have gone higher, but I wanted to start from somewhere. And by the time I finished my 4 years as chairman, the opportunity was given to me to become the constituency organizer. Then when they were looking for somebody for DC, I was chosen. So if you make yourself available to the leadership of the party, my brother, you can make it easily. So I will advise you that not every competition that will help you, but position yourself so that they will see that you are ready to serve the party, not your own interest. That is the difference that I have made. I didn't position myself to compete with anybody. I positioned myself to see how I can serve the party and the nation. And that is how I got my opportunities open to me. So I advise that don't be afraid. Opportunities are there, but you must position yourself. Take a strategic position, and then that will help you. By the time you make the mark, you have a lot of people behind you who will push you forward. That is the advice I would like to give to the youth. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the delivery. I am much satisfied.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eli Kemagbo. Miss Manam Asase, are you still active? If you are not active, let's take the question from Eraskin Nuku. Yeah, so Eraskin, kindly unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. In fact, this evening has been very special to me, especially when I hear my Honorable Member of Parliament talks and share some of his experiences with us this evening. In fact, this has been one of my, this evening has been one of my learning platforms that I have learned so much. And these learnings or these things that I've heard from him right now will cushion me on as a youth within the Akatsi North District, of which he's also the Member of Parliament and which I am also coming from. Honorable, thank you very much. On behalf of our Friends for Educational Foundations and Development, we would like to say a very big aiko for you for your support throughout our programs to the launching. Successfully, we have launched our program and we are about to roll on. Listening to you this evening has encouraged me and has given me a lot of maybe power to maybe continue whatever agenda we have for the district. Honorable, thank you very much. I want to learn more from you. So I want to ask this particular question, that within your political journey, I know you might have had some ups and downs. So I would like to know, what are some of the experiences that you have observed that have nearly weakened your political journey? And what are some of the experiences that have strengthened you in your political terrain as to this level? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Eskin Nuku. I'm happy we have you online. Yeah, actually, my motivation to go into politics, as I said, was to serve my people. And in political life, you have ups and downs. I can share one experience with you. In 1996, very young then, my name came up for appointment as a district chief executive. In fact, it was only left for the announcement to be made. Today, let's assume this evening, the announcement will be made this evening. By 12 noon, I was called and told that they were sorry. The president said he's sorry, he will not give me the appointment again. So, but I took it lightly because I felt that was not the time. And I've been telling people that my joy is that if I had joined politics or if I had become the DC at that time, probably Akatsi North District would not have been created. Because in 2000, I was just home. I was in my office at the Accra Metro Education Office when a messenger came that I was wanted at this place, Castle. What is it? That the president wanted, the chief of staff wanted to see me. So it was there, he told me, my friend, get ready, you are going back to Akatsi as the DC. I thought, I've just finished my education. I said, no. The DC had left, so I should go. So the opportunity came. But 3 months or 4 months in office, we lost the election. And I decided to work for the party. And that was one reason why in 2009, they just called me and said, my friend, you did not finish your job, so go back and do it. So the ups and downs are there. At times, some people, you believe that they will not disappoint you. They will disappoint you the more. So those are the ups and downs. Those you don't even believe that they will support you in your work are the people in the long run who will even be ready to die for you. So both the ups and downs are there to energize you to do more. They strengthen you. And that is what I believe, because if you have it smooth in life, your experiences will not be great. You must be ready for disappointments. You must be ready for people who will, even at the last point, betray you. It has happened on a number of occasions, but it is the management skill. If you have the management skill, you can do it. And one of them is the courage. And another is not to take occurrences, especially the negative ones, to overcome your strengths. If you allow your weaknesses to overcome your strengths, then you can move forward. So those are the things that have built me up. I make sure that whatever error that is committed, I should quickly overcome it and make sure that I move forward. So that is how I have been able to make it. And as a youth, I will encourage you that don't be disappointed by any thing that happens to discourage you. If you allow such things to discourage you, so just make sure that you are able to overcome any challenges that will come your way. It is important that you sensitize yourself. Don't allow anybody to sway you from the path you have chosen. But once you have chosen the path, make sure that you do it well so that you can earn the respect and the command of people. Like the program you have started with your colleagues. Before you realize, that program can propel you to higher heights. And so take it seriously and don't think of what you can gain as an individual, but what you can deliver unto the people. And doing that, I think the future will be very bright for you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Mr. Nuku, do you have a follow-up?
Oh, no, please. I want to just thank the Honorable MP very much for that advice. I'm very grateful.
Thank you very much. Miss Manam Asase, if you are active, kindly unmute yourself and ask your question. Manam Asase, I don't think she's active. Whenever you're active, kindly notify us and then we'll give you the opportunity to ask your question. Mr. Cletus Awilai, kindly unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The name is actually Cletus Avlime. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I also want to thank the honorable guest speaker for his delivery, more especially on shortfalls and weaknesses as far as the journey of leadership is concerned. I'd wanted to ask similar question, but then my brother just asked that question. But then my follow-up question is, I want the honorable speaker to share his leadership experiences on or in his university days with us, if he has any. Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker, if you can come again, because leadership in what? Hello?
Yes, please, Mr. Cletus. Please come again with your question.
Leadership in
the leadership experience in his university days.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Cletus Avlime. Yeah. As I said earlier, I was at the University College of Education, Winneba, and then at the University of Ghana, then to GIMPA. My active politics, student politics, was only at University College of Education in Winneba, where I served as the public relations officer for our hall. I was in Densu Hall, so I served as the public relations officer in our final year. Those days, over there, the positions were held by final year students. So that was what I served. When I came to University of Ghana, I was already an assembly member. So I did not want to engage myself in student politics so much, although I was attending our party meetings and other things. Other regional, like we had the Volta Region Student Association. Yes, I was attending their meetings, but because I was an assemblyman, every weekend after lectures, Friday, I had to run down to the electoral area. So I was managing my affair. I devoted myself more to the electoral area because as an assembly member, you must be present among your people very regularly. So because of that, I did not take part in student politics when I was at the University of Ghana because of my position as an assembly member, and I was needed back in the constituency, in the electoral area very often. That's it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cletus, any follow-up? Okay, I think you are okay, right?
Yes, it's fine. The rest has been exhausted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Manam, as I said, anytime you are active, kindly indicate and we'll give you the opportunity to ask your question. Mr. Desmond Sylvester Ahaji, kindly unmute yourself and proceed to ask your question. Thank you. Mr. Desmond Sylvester Ahaji.
Yes, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I would want to ask a simple question, and it goes like this. I would want the speaker, which is honorable, to inform us if throughout his journey to become a politician, let me premise my question and say so rather that now our political arena has become so dangerous, where people become targets for assassination and then character defamation. And we live in a dispensation where we have parents who are very protective. And then now some of us as youth, we are having fierce opposition from our immediate families and then close relation on our intentions of engaging in politics. I want to ask Honorable if during his time he had any of such opposition from family and friends. If there is any, can he gladly share with us some of the strategies or the measures he employed to be able to overcome and then to buy the support of those families and then friends to be able to pursue his political ambition? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. Mr. Desmond Haji. I would like to thank you very much for that insightful question. But let me begin by saying that don't be discouraged by anybody who wants to prevent you from becoming a politician. Politics depends on the way people look at it. Some of us see it as an opportunity to serve the people, and that is what has been our cardinal point. As I wanted to enter into politics, as I said, I began as an assembly member in 1988-89. It was the community, the chiefs, who called me and then asked me to represent them at the district assembly. So I did not have that opposition or disagreement between my family and any friends, because it was a new concept. So everybody, or many people did not know what it was going to be. So in our day, those first 3 assembly elections, that type of fight was not there. It was very easy for you to go through. That acrimony was not there until recently, when we start seeing people fighting over assembly elections and then coming to parliamentary and presidential elections. So I did not have that. Before I even became a member of parliament, I also did not have my family members discouraging me from engaging into politics. That thing was not. I had the support of my family, and I think it depends on the environment that you are even coming from. If the people know you, that you can adequately work for them, and your family is even against you, the other people will encourage you to represent them. So I would just advise that start building bridges. What I mean by bridges is once you have the intention to join or to become a politician, you engage people, seek the views of people about politics. What are the dangers there? Yeah, for people, by all means, you will have people who will behind you not support you. People would have wished that they were there. Yeah, but if you think of all those things, then you can make it as a politician. So just make up your mind and then convince people that this is the reason why I want to enter into politics. Not for your selfish gains, but to serve the people. And how you want to serve the people. A lot of things are going on in this country now, which as a politician, you want to help resolve. So opportunities are there. Just make sure that you take advantage. But those you think can advise you, yeah, approach them. Then they will give you the intricacies of the game, and then you know how you can move about. So it is important that you should have a mentor politically who will be grooming you, and then you learn at the feet of that politician, and then you can make it. So forget about people who will discourage you. But if you make up your mind, do it well, and you will succeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Desmond Ahaji, do you have a follow-up?
Yes, please, I have a follow-up.
Yes, please proceed.
Okay, Honorable, well, you profoundly spoke about mentorship from the beginning of your presentation, and then in your quest to respond to my question, you indeed made mention of getting a mentor to sort of nurture you and then to give you the basic tenets and the rudiments you need to understand as far as leadership and politics is concerned. Now, Honorable, we live also in a dispensation where the purported mentors would want to use us as kudos for their political gains. Now, Honorable, can you throw more light on the situation where we find ourselves with individuals who want to use us as kudos or want to ride on our loyalty to achieve their gain? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, if you want somebody to mentor you in a specific area, you must assess the person first and find out if that person can mentor you into whatever venture you want to enter. If it is politics, you must get a politician who will not use you as an instrument to gain whatever he wants or she wants to get out of you. Because what normally happens is that some of you, the youth, out of exuberance, you call it youthful exuberance, you take certain actions on behalf of politicians, which in the end don't help you. So you should not allow yourself to be used to commit offenses or crimes or do anything that will tarnish your image, and then in the end you will be the loser. So when I talk about mentorship, assess the person and find out for yourself, can this person teach me the right thing to do? Not to be used as a poodle, as you mentioned, that go and do this dirty work. In politics, some people will use you for some work, dirty work, and then they will abandon you. It is common. That one I won't deny it. But make sure that you draw the lines between loyalty and then what you want to achieve. So I will advise that you don't need to allow yourself to be used as a tool in the hands of any politician. If the person is not mentoring you the way you want it, quickly stop and then get somebody else. I believe that if you go to somebody to mentor you and all he's telling you to take into violence, actions and whatnot, the person is not doing anything good for you. Carve your own future, and then you may not have only one mentor. You can have 2 or 3 mentors, and you compare and see which amongst them or who amongst them is helping you to achieve whatever aim you want to achieve for yourself in the future. So for life experiences, they are there. If I tell you something that a soldier did to me some years ago, you will laugh. But I believe that what that soldier did to me that day has changed my life, and that has what brought me to this place today. So I'll urge you, watch carefully. Don't just go into mentorship in the hands of every politician. No, that may not help you. So draw the lines, watch the lines, and then you can make it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Desmond, I think you are satisfied, or you have another question.
I'm satisfied, right, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. One of our participants has typed his questions. I think it is due to the fact that his network is not strong. So let me kindly read his question to our guest speaker. He's in the name, he's actually Akadro Eugene Eden. He typed, "Good evening, honorable members. Please, I want to ask, why is it that nowadays our political leaders do engage in student politics?" That is his question, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. In our days as students, students who were competing or vying for political positions did not go to any political leader, did not go to any politician for financial support to run his or her elections to become SRC president or NUS secretary or NUS president. But today, all those who want to become such officers at the university run to politicians for support. So once you go to that politician or that political group and they support you, you become aligned to them. So you have sold your leadership position to that political organization. And this thing happened about 10, 15 years now. This has been the practice. And I always tell people that as students, leaders, if you do that, you lose your right. Assuming Party A gives you money, you have won your election, and that Party A is in government. If it's doing something which is wrong or against students, will you have the moral courage to criticize that government? You cannot. Yeah, you cannot. So that is my challenge, that the students themselves have politicized student leadership and student leadership elections. So political parties are now financing their elections. And once they are elected, they become tools in the hands of the politicians. So the SRC, the NUS, these days, you don't see them as vibrant as they used to be. That one, I think you can agree with me, that our NUS, they are not as vibrant as they used to be in the 80s and early 90s. They are no longer that vibrant. So it's the students themselves who have allowed politicians to weaken their fronts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Please, if you have any question, kindly indicate it in the income message and I'll call you. I also have some questions. So since there are no indications of questions, I'll proceed to ask mine. Our honorable guest speaker, one of my questions is, how do you manage the expectations from your major stakeholders, such as your constituents, your party leaders, and Parliament itself, since they all have different varying expectations? How do you manage them in order to properly do your work as an MP?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a very big challenge. The expectations are so high that every day it is one challenge or another, or one or two expectations. Various expectations are dumped on you. And as a member of Parliament, we only manage it. There are certain things we cannot do. So we only need to sit you down and explain things to you, that this and that we can do, this and that we cannot do. And it ranges. I wouldn't like to mention them on air because at times you discourage the people and they will find it very difficult to come to you and confide in you their challenges and problems. So after the conference, they are there. Yeah. You have to pay a lot of school fees. You have to pay some people their rent, hospital bills, a whole lot of things, funerals. At times, you have to support families to bury their dead. Those are things we have to do. These are all the expectations. And the little that you can do, you do it. So when they come with their challenges, the little that you can do, we do to support them. Because they see you as their only, how do I put it, hope. So you need to support them in one way or the other. Yeah, the party also, you need to make sure that you are available to them, either at the constituency level, the branch level, regional or national. You must listen to them and you must carry out what the party decides for you as a member of Parliament. So if the party takes a position that this is what we want, you, the MPs, to do. You have no right to go against it. You must make sure that you oblige, and then make sure that whatever they have asked you to do, you do it. That is with the party. Then in Parliament too, we have the 3-line whip. The leadership is there. They will tell you what to do in a particular situation. If it is a matter of voting on an issue or a motion, you will be directed as to do what to do. So these expectations are there. You may have a different view, but once your leadership in Parliament has said that it is A, you cannot go and do B. If you do B, you are in trouble. You remember what happened when we were approving the ministers. Yes, and some people voted against the leadership direction, and that was what created the problem for us in the minority. So we have learned our lessons, and we managed to manage the expectations of our people. What are the people expecting us to do? We do that, so that in the end, as a party or as Parliament, we speak with one voice. So the expectations are there. We are not able to meet all their expectations, especially at the constituency level. You can imagine the large population looking up to you to solve their problems for them. Some, it is not about money. It's about the wisdom, the advice that they want from you. So once you are able, or you make yourself available to them and guide them, they are happy. And I think that has strengthened my relationship with my constituents over the years. So we are managing the expectations of our people. We cannot satisfy everybody or fully, but we do, or I do the little that I can do to keep them moving. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I agree with you, sir. I think Mr. Desmond has. Mr. Desmond, is it a follow-up to my question or is it different?
Right, Honorable Speaker, it's a follow-up which comes in the form of a full question.
Okay, please proceed.
Yes, right, Honorable Speaker, I'll be glad when you want to address to me, you mention my full name as Desmond Sylvester Haji.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much. Honorable, please, in your quest to respond to Mr. Speaker's question, you made mention of the fact that you pay fees and then you pay sort of some other, you make some other expenses. I would wish to ask that throughout your political endeavor, I believe that definitely there were times we have to sort of grease the palm of people or give money to people. My question is that, like, the monetization of our current political atmosphere, is it on the account of the politician or the electorate? I would want to know if the current situation we have, where we need to induce the electorate with money, is it as a result of the electorate or the citizens, or the Ghanaian politician is using that in the absence of policies that will speak to the needs of the people? Thank you very much.
Yeah, Mr. Mr. Speaker, let me address him fully. Mr. Sylvester Desmond Ahaji. Is that not it?
Please, the Desmond comes first. Desmond Sylvester Ahaji.
Desmond. Hey, you are very particular about your name.
Yes, the acknowledgement is of much importance to me, Honorable.
That's great. Yes. Yeah, your name is your identity. Yeah. Yeah. And I will say that it is both. Because you realize that anything that you want to do these days is about money. You want to send somebody to take a message to the constituency or to the branches or anywhere. It is about money. So monetization of our politics, I will agree with you that it is both the politician and the electorate. I don't know if you observed the last elections very carefully. The amount of money that was given to people to go and vote. General election. I've never seen it in my political life before. That a voter, you go and give him or her money, go and vote for Mr. A, Party A, or vote for Party B. I was shocked. And if we don't take time and we stop this monetization of our politics, the type of politicians or leaders we are going to have in the future will not help us. Some of us have been saying it, that if we don't stop this and then educate our people that these are the reasons why you have to vote. You must vote on policies and programs so that you can get the best out of it for yourself and your community. If roads are to be constructed, and it is my responsibility probably to go and fight for you, or as a government to do it for you, and I've given you all the money, shared the money amongst you, 20 cedis, 50 cedis on the election day. If I don't do anything, can you call me to order? So as the illiterate, we are also selling our birthright, which we must stop. Yes, we are selling our birthright. Because if you demand money from the politician before you vote for him, once he goes there, hey, my brother, he can forget about you. So I think you, the youth, should rather help us, politicians, to educate the people that it should not be about immediate satisfaction. If you give somebody 20 cedis today to go and vote, that 20 cedis, we're not going to spend that 20 cedis for 4 years. That 20 cedis will finish that day. But where from that money? It's not from public purse. So I would wish that as young men and women, take up this challenge as a crusade and help educate our people for us. We know poverty is high, but poverty should not lead us to be selling our birthright and then our voting right. So I will agree with you, it's both the politician and the illiterate who are the cause of the monetization of our politics in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our honorable guest speaker. This house had a debate on even this monetization of politics. I think that was our second sitting. And then the same conclusion you have reached was the same conclusion of the house. So even this house, this Youth Impact Parliament, agrees with your position on this matter. So I'd like to proceed to my next question, since no one is indicating that he or she has a question. Our honorable guest speaker, I know you a little bit spoke on this question of mine, but I want you to also clarify more on the timeline with respect to this question. The question is that we know as an MP, your work is demanding and stressful. But what are the things an active member of parliament does within the precedence or out of the precedence of parliament? And there are 4 sections that I have identified are plenary sessions, office works, committee meetings, and during recess of the house. If you can speak more about what happens and how you manage your time for all those 4 parts of your life.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, as you identified, we have the plenary where everybody is expected, or every member of parliament is to attend upon the house. That is where decisions are taken. When reports are brought from committees, we debate the reports. When statements are made, you contribute to the statements. Then where votes are to be taken, you take part in the votes, so that your responsibility as a member of parliament, first to the plenary, is done. As for the office, it is there for you. Every member of parliament now has an office and staff that can help you in the discharge of your duties, to help you do your research and then other things that have to do. So the office is there. You go to, you do your private work in your office. Like before session, you can sit in your office, write your reports, or look at the program for the day and what contributions you want to make. You can do all those things before you go into the plenary or into a committee meeting. Now, the committees, as I said earlier, much of the work in Parliament is done at the committee level. So, for instance, if it's an education committee, if there is a reference that is made to you, you go and then look at it. If it is a petition that has been referred to you, you go and then look at it and report back to the speaker in the plenary. Recently, we met with UTAC. You remember their strike action? Yeah. So we had to report back to the speaker and all those things. So the committee is very, very important. That's why I said that we have committees. At least everybody must serve on a minimum of 2 committees. If you go to our standing orders, it is there. So you must make sure that you are an active member of the committee. What happens is that the committee, that you have a few people, the number is small, so everybody can talk. But in the chamber, when you come to plenary, it is difficult for everybody to talk. I can tell you that seniority plays a very much important role in Parliament. If I stand to talk, I am a third-term member of Parliament, and then a first-term member of Parliament also stands. The Speaker will call me first. 1, because I am a senior in the House, and probably 2, because I am a ranking member. So not everybody will have the opportunity to talk every time. So you make sure your input should be felt at the committee level, and that will show in the work that you do. Then during recess, we have a lot of activities. Those are the periods that Parliament engages us on trips, either locally or externally. There may be some conferences you have to attend, maybe with education committee. You have to travel to maybe a certain parliament to meet the education committee over there. Any other thing that the speaker directs that you do. Then we have committee workshops also during recess, so that you can have enough time and then go and sit down and then do whatever referrals the speaker has made to you. So although we go on recess, you can be recalled anytime to go and do any particular work or assignment for Parliament, or you are made to travel on a trip locally or externally to represent Parliament. Then during the recess too, we are expected to visit our constituencies. For those of us who are very close to our constituencies, it's almost a weekly affair. So it is expected that during recess, you visit the constituency, you live among the people, and then you can visit some communities, probably inspect projects that are ongoing in your constituency. You have that opportunity to do that. So those are the things that we do at the committee during recess, so that 1, you can still continue parliamentary work, or you can do your own private work. If you want to travel on your own, you just obtain permission from the speaker. Although we are on recess, you have to obtain permission from the speaker before you travel. And then if it is a parliamentary assignment, you must make yourself available to do that. So those are the things that we have to do as members of Parliament, either in plenary, in your office, on the committee level, or on research. Those are the things we need to, or we have to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm really learning a lot this evening, and I wish to keep on listening to you the whole night. But obviously, we have to close.
Yeah.
Seriously, honorable participants, I'm really enjoying this session. I just have about just 2 questions I want to ask, and then if anyone has any other question, can ask. So please, if you have any last question, indicate it in the chat box so that we'll give you the opportunity before our guest speaker gives his closing remarks, and then we continue to close the program with my remarks and votes of thanks. Honorable, one of my last questions is that I've seen that an MP's work is quite loaded, even if the exposure that you have given us, the activities are so much. And even now coming to talk about the books, I've seen some bills, they're like 300. Our MPs able to read all this before they have to contribute, and doesn't it really get tiring? Because it's quite enormous to me.
Yes, thank you very much. That's why I said that most of the work is done at the committee level. Most of the referrals or the big documents that you see are meant for different committees. So if it is a bill on education, that one you are going to read it from page to page. If it is a constitutional and legal, you have to do that. If it is on a subsidiary, you have to do that. Let me show you one of the books. I think you can see it. This one. See how voluminous it is. Yes.
Like an encyclopedia.
Yes.
Wow.
It's on the fees and charges. All the fees charged by the hospitals, by the universities. In fact, throughout the country, it's contained over here. Yes, and I'm on that committee. So you see, I have to read this voluminous book within 2 weeks before the committee takes a decision on it. You see, so that's why I say that is the rest. What we do is during recess, then you find time and read all. Then when we come back and then the discussions are ongoing, then you can contribute meaningfully. Yeah. So, but to say you can read every document on every committee, you will find it very difficult. So at times you only look at the very relevant portions of the document, then you do it, because there's going to be a presentation by the sector minister on it. So when that is done to you, then the relevant portions you can do. But the document I've shown you now, that's why you have to read it from page to page. It's about almost 600 pages. You have to read it within 2 weeks. Yes, that's a challenge. Yeah. So we manage to read. That's why at times we don't leave the office early. Yeah. Yes. So, but during recess, when we are in Accra or anywhere, you can go and then take all the documents and read. That is how we are able to manage it.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
My second to last question. These are very important questions we have audited, so I have to ask them.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yes. Our honorable guest speaker, what is your personal opinion on the role of an MP regarding the debate that an MP should be allowed to make laws and he should leave issues of developmental projects to the executive arm? What is your personal opinion on that?
Yeah, we have 3 arms of government: the executive, the legislature, and then the judiciary. The executive manages the economy. Parliament passes laws. So if we want to concern ourselves with development, we will be getting it wrong. We approve money for the executive to execute projects. So if we take the money as members of parliament and go and do the projects, who is going to have oversight responsibility? Can you have oversight responsibility over yourself? You can monitor yourself. Do you say? Yeah, that's why we have been said that the executive should manage development. Then we will monitor and have oversight responsibility, because you can't be a judge in your own court. So let somebody work, then you can supervise and then give a report. That's why we are saying that. That's why we see that even monies that are meant for assembly, the member of parliament, is sent to the disassembly, but that is the executive. So you only give instruction, release 1,500 to community A for this support program. You have finished your work. So it is only when you go back to that community, yes, you ask for money. The money was given to you. Let me see what you have done with the money. Yes, that is our role. But if we want to be in charge of development, then we'll be taking over the work of the district assembly. We'll be taking over the work of the various ministries and the agencies. That's why we are saying that development should be the role of the executive, because they have the budget. We approve the budget for them. They must spend the money, and we will hold them accountable to the nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do concur to the point you have made on this, because just recently I've seen on your social media account, Facebook, that I think you supervised the approval of about 136,000. Is it for the payment of fees, and then some amount again for the clearing of bills and all those? And I must say you are doing well with respect to that place. So it
Thank
is
you
in
very much.
consonant with the fact you have laid.
Yes.
Since no one has any other question, I'll go ahead to ask my last question. Our guest speaker, we are really happy to have you here, and most of us do wish to reach where you are right now. You have given a lot of advices to how we can reach there, but majority of them were focused on MPship. So the last question is, what advice do you have for the youth who wish to become MPs and state officers and other public appointed officers? Which advice do you have for them? A general advice and maybe a peculiar one. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. The issue is that many people think that it is only becoming a member of parliament that you can help the people. There are people in other offices who are not MPs, but they help their communities more than MPs do. That one I must admit it. If you become a chief executive of a good state organization, you are in a better position to help your community more than a member of parliament. Because as a member of parliament, your movement is restricted. In fact, the eyes of the people are on you, how you make your resources, how you even make your money. And you must always declare your assets and liabilities regularly. So, if you want to be an MP, fine, but you must be ready that you are going to go through a lot of hurdles as a member of parliament, because you are going to even beg the people for projects, as we do. You have that is lobby. Let me use the word lobby. You have to go and lobby for the projects before you can take them to your constituency. Especially if your party is not in government, you must make sure you do the legwork, and that is what we do before we are able to get some projects for our constituencies or communities. So, yes, I will not discourage anybody who wants to become a member of parliament one day, but you must work towards it. Work towards it. Don't just stay there and think that it will fall down for you to pick. You must begin from somewhere. Make yourself available to the party that you want to work for. Then when you make your mark, when they see you as a very potential member of parliament, you get the support of people. Then I also said that it's not only in parliament, be a member of parliament, that you can help. Some people who are working in government, or who work in government and are not members of parliament, can become ministers of state, deputy ministers of state. It's also an opportunity to serve your country. So don't only think about becoming a member of parliament or a district chief executive, but think of what other areas that you can fit in, so that when the opportunity comes, people who are in authority will recommend you quickly. Some of us became DCs out of recommendation. Committee vice chairman or ranking out of recommendation, because there are many people in the queue, but if they pick you out of the queue to head this, to do this, that is what we need to do. So I will urge the youth that identify your potential and see where you fit, and then work on yourself so that you can achieve good results. Then the future or the road will open itself for you, and before you realize, if it is parliament you want to come, you will be there. If it's a chief executive you want to be in a state or public institution, you will be there. The opportunities are there for everybody, especially the youth, as I said at the beginning of my delivery, that the future is yours. And please make sure that you work towards that future and don't allow anybody to misguide you. That is the way you should guide yourself. Work yourself towards a goal, and you will be able to make it.
Thank you so much, our guest speaker. As a matter of fact, I'm really enjoying this session, and I'm happy it's being recorded. So even after this, I'll go and listen to it over and over again.
Yeah.
On this note, I want to use this opportunity to invite our honorable guest speaker to give his closing remarks. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you very much, honorable speaker. I was saying that a soldier did something to me before, and that's I don't know whether it was a good omen, and I want to share it with you. My colleagues, there was a time I wanted to join the Ghana Armed Forces as a very young boy, about 18 years then. Then I went to the enlistment center. Then we were in the queue, very long queue, not as long as we witness these days anyway. Then an officer just walked to me. Then he held my hand, said, "Young man, come here." Hey, I was afraid. Then he asked me to sit down under a tent. They were conducting the recruitment exercise. So I went and sat down. He was not telling me anything. Meanwhile, they were checking the height, the body, people were running and all those things. So I was worried. What is happening? Then around 2 o'clock, he brought me Fanta with biscuit I should take. Hey, wow. So I took it. Then around 4, 5, they dismissed everybody. So he walked to me and said, "Yeah, man, let's go home." Hey, I was afraid. Let's go home. I said, "Home where?" He said, "Bema camp." Those days, there was nothing like telephone. This mobile telephone was not, or mobile phone was not there. So I joined him in his VW car. Then we went to the house. I wasn't talking. I was just shivering. And by the time we got there, he introduced me to his wife. This is the young man he met at the recruitment. Then if he asked if there was food, they gave us food. I ate. Then he told me, "Gentleman, oh, young man, go and bring your father." I asked him why. I said, "No, don't ask me why. Just go and bring your father. I want to see him." So I went back to the village, told my father that this and that officer wanted you to come. He said, "What up? Did I do anything wrong?" I said, "No, I was just in the queue and he walked to me, said I should come." So that was all happened. So as I said, there was no mobile phone and all this. So the third day, we left for Accra again. We got to Accra, went to Bema camp, his house. After that, line telephone was there. So they called him that I had come to the place with my father. So they said they should take care of us. He came. I told my father that, "Is it your son?" He said, "Yes." "This your son, I won't allow him to be a soldier." But then my father asked him why. He said, "No, he has seen something in this man or this young boy. If you allowed him to join the forces now, it will not help him. So let him go back to school." And that was how I went to do my further studies. The rest is history now. So instead of becoming a soldier, I became a teacher. And when I finished school, the man asked me if I wanted to be a soldier again. That time he was still an officer. I told him no, I was no longer interested. So that's how life is. So at times, you cross somebody along your life, and then that person can change your life for you, knowingly or unknowingly. Yes. So that was how happened to me. I knew myself that, after joining the armed forces, I was going to be true. I trusted myself, my ability to pass the examination and all those things. But that was how it came about. So I tell this story to people, not to discourage them in whatever you want to do. But somebody may come along your way and will change your program for you entirely. But I hope that that will be for the best. So on that note, I want to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to interact with you and all others online. It has been a very nice opportunity, and I will make sure that next time you are doing it for another person, I will also join and listen to others. I like listening to others so that I can still build on my experiences. So that is it. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir. We are also grateful to have you. And let me put it on record that you are the first incumbent member of parliament that we are having to speak to us on the floor of Youth Impact Parliament. So, our honorable guest speaker, ladies and gentlemen, I'll proceed to my closing remark, and then one of my co-founders will give the vote of thanks before I'll give the closing prayer. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest speaker, on behalf of leadership and myself, I wish to convey the sincerest gratitude of the House to our honorable guest speaker, the Honorable Peter Nortsu-Kotoe, member of the 8th Parliament of Ghana, for the Akatsi Constituency, for coming to impact us with his mass experience and give us exposure on building a political career. As a matter of fact, I didn't know I would actually get this opportunity to have him teach us due to the pending pressure on the Parliament of Ghana, most especially with respect to the passage of the popular controversial tax bill on the table of Parliament of Ghana, of which you all know, the e-levy tax. God greatly bless him for availing himself to impact us, although there is pressure on Parliament. I'm really, really grateful for that, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm also grateful.
Yes, sir. I also wish to appreciate the efforts of members who publicized this seminar and participated in it. Most especially, I want to personally recognize our graphic designer who designed the beautiful poster you are seeing me present right now. It's in the person of Mr. Dollar Glaston. He's a youth MP and 8 years as a public relations officer. He wholeheartedly designed this poster for us. God bless you all, and thank you so much. For the attention of the House and our participants, I hereby indulge you all to follow Youth Impact Parliament on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, and YouTube. Youth Impact Parliament is a youth organization recently established that creates the opportunity for youth to be groomed in leadership roles, public speaking, parliamentary business, social norms, and value. We are still in our first parliamentary year since establishment. We actually held 3 pilot sittings and 3 regular sittings last year, and we also held our 4th parliamentary sitting on the 20th of February. Yeah. So I indulge you all to follow us. Youth Impact Parliament is also open for support from the public. Whoever wishes to support our vision can contact us or me and support us in cash or kind. And as of now, our membership is valid per participation in our activities, both the physical and virtual ones. So as of now, if you want to join us, you don't really have to fill any form. Just join our activities like this one, and then we recognize you as a member or coming for our sitting. At the right time, we'll introduce all the expected modalities. On this note, I want to invite one of our co-founders in the person of Mr. Raymond Elikemagbo to give us the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, our guest speaker in the August House. Right Honorable Speaker, I think you have done a great deal of the vote of thanks, and so I would just add to the existing one that you have done. And so we are grateful to the Almighty God that the opportunity has been given to us to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And so I believe that His grace has been sufficient for us to see this time and then to experience this moment. We are grateful, God. We thank our special guest of honor, Honorable Peter Nortsu-Kotoe, MP for Akatsi North Constituency in the Volta region. We thank him so much for sharing his personal experience and also the political career that he has embarked on so far. We want to appreciate the beautiful presentation he has given us, from his education to his work life to his in-depth life in governance. We want to say thank him so much. A lot of us know, or some of us may not have known him until today, but those who really and truly know him and who have heard about him would know that he is a man of good works. And then he supports a lot of the youths in his constituency and beyond. We appreciate him for the very things he does, even in his political party and beyond, and for Mother Ghana. We want to also use the opportunity, Youth Impact Parliament, thanking every participant for this virtual leadership seminar. We appreciate your presence and your time. Time is not very easy to come by these days, and so sacrificing almost 2.5 hours of your time with us is really, really much appreciated. We indulge and require that you participate in our subsequent activities. We thank you so much, the August House. Thank you so much, our guest speaker. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, our co-founder, for the vote of thanks. And let me still state on record that Honorable Peter Nortsu-Kotoe, we are really, really happy to have you share with us all this knowledge. Someone like me, I've learned a lot from this. And I also wish to be your very close friend so that you can take me as one of your sons and be teaching me on how to be the best person I can be. I want to thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very grateful to you and your colleagues and the managers of the program. I think it's good work you have started. We will encourage you to continue. Whatever support we can give, we will be ready to do so. I thank you very much.
Thank you very
We
much.
thank you too.
Okay, honorable members, let us pray our closing prayer. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this youth in Parliament. Grant that it may perform its high duty, as in thy sight. Give wisdom and understanding to all who have participated in today's seminar, that they may proceed to implement what they have heard and make their lives better, and also improve themselves in their daily lives, aspirations to reach their visions and goals and destiny that God has destined for them. We commit into your hands our fourth guest speaker in the person of the Honorable Peter Nortsu-Kotoe. Commit him into your hands that you should guide him in his career to impact more people and do his work until it is time. Father Lord, we commit into your hands our subsequent guest speakers and seminars, that you also guide those ones too and make them successful. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Youth Impact Parliament, Volta region, and Ghana. Amen. God bless you all, and have a great and beautiful night.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen. Yeah.